Bigfoot Radio.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Night Callers Bigfoot Radio. Hey, it is Monday the 13th. I think this is like the second Monday the 13th we've had this year. And boy, has it been on Monday the 13th. But we're all here, despite possible delays. We're all here and doing pretty good, and ready to have a really great show tonight. So, how's everybody doing? I mean, Jeff was telling us about his little concoctions that he fixes, his little medicinal things, and we're all like ready to go get sick at his house. Yeah.
Hey, my great grandma was Indian. I mean, I learned all kinds of stuff. So.
I imagine.
I'm not joking. I mean, she was born on a reservation, so I mean, my dad growing up, he would get so mad because everybody thought he was Mexican, and he's not. He's Indian, you know. And that's not INDIAN. That's capital N, capital D, capital N. That's NDN. That's the way I was brought up. When you talk about Native American Indian, it's three letters, NDN. So my dad always ain't got no red dot on my forehead.
No.
Not that there's anything wrong with the red dot on somebody's forehead.
No.
Hey, no. I'm not saying. I'm just saying that he didn't.
Now you're backing up.
Well, I don't want to offend anyone that might be listening to the show that may be from the actual country of India. You know, we could have some fans and some listeners, and we would love to have people from India listening to the show. And I don't want to offend them.
You never know. In fact, I know there are some fans out there that are from India. So I'm glad you backed up and didn't say anything else.
Yeah, I'm not trying to make light of. Yeah, I'm not trying to make light of their lineage and heritage and things like that. It's just as important as mine is to me. I just get carried away sometimes, being funny and doing all that kind of stuff. But
you're hilarious.
Hey, I can always just start singing. I can start singing again. That's what I'll do.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
what was really he singing? He was singing Johnny Cash, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I fell into a burning ring of fire. Go down, 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 ring of fire.
That ring of fire. Well, I tell you what, if we ever have a guest not show up, you're going on your own. It's on.
Yeah.
We'll get some karaoke going, and we'll have the Jeff does Johnny Cash hour.
And what's bad, I don't even like country music. And I sing Johnny Cash all the time. You know, it's Johnny Cash and Typo Negative. I mean, what a combination. You know.
We have anything interesting happen? I haven't had any more creepy incidences, thank goodness. Anybody else got anything weird to share or heard something odd or anything out there? Okay.
I actually had one of my dogs get hung up in a tree about 6 foot off of the ground.
How in the world?
Haven't got a clue. We were sitting here in the house. The dogs in the yard just kept barking. I was going out and hollering and telling them to be quiet. They just wouldn't hush up. And finally got them to be quiet, and I heard several hundred yards through the woods in front of the house, I could hear one of my dogs out there sounded like something was killing it. So, of course, grab the flashlight and the gun and head down through the woods. And I get down there, and there's my dog with his paw stuck in the fork of a tree at least 6 foot off the ground. I don't know if this dog had managed to climb that high in that tree or whether something placed him there, because he was tore up. He had a huge gash in his side. One of his front legs was ripped open. His mouth was very bloody, like he had been biting or something biting him in his mouth area. And he was in pretty bad shape when I got to him. Had to close his wounds up and give him an antibiotic shot and all that kind of good stuff. He's okay now. But
you don't think it was a hog, do you?
No, there were no signs of any hogs around there. And plus, you know, he's a hunting dog, so he would have, one hog by itself, I don't think would have got him. And even if it would have been 10 hogs, they'd have probably just ran from him. I don't know if he was trying to get up in the tree after something, or if something may have picked him up and placed him in that tree.
Wow, that is weird.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying something did. That's just a possibility. Yeah. But, it's my wife was like, maybe he was jumping at whatever he was trying to tree and got hung. I've never seen any of my dogs other than my 2 Great Danes be able to jump 6 feet.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of dog is this one?
It's a mountain cur.
Okay.
Oh.
About a 30-pound. He probably weighs about 30 pounds.
Yeah.
And
that's weird.
6 feet. I mean, top of his back is less than knee high to me. So jumping 6 feet, that means he would have just about had to have vertically jumped 4 feet straight up in the air to have gotten his paw in the fork of that tree. And the tree wasn't slanted or anything. This is a tree that was just a straight up tree.
Yeah. Wow. That is weird. But I'm glad that you got him down and that he was okay. And wow.
Well, I got trail cams out there now.
I'm really wondering if a cat didn't get a hold of him. I'm thinking maybe you even tried to drag him up that tree.
I actually, I thought about that myself, but I didn't see any wounds like that would come from a cat on him. There were no claw marks. There were no bite fang marks or anything. The hole in his side was probably about 2.5 inches long, and I mean it just looked like something had ripped that in him. And the only thing I can think, I almost wondered if he was after something to tree it or whatever, and he actually, did get up in that tree a little bit and got himself in trouble, and subsequent fighting to get loose, he could have cut himself. But I just, for the life of me, going back and looking at that tree, I can't figure out, how this dog who's never shown, I hunt with him all the time, he's never tried to climb a tree before. We've treed coons, squirrels, everything else, and he's never attempted to go up a tree.
What kind of tree was it, Jeff?
It was an oak tree.
Okay. One of our listeners wanted to know. Well,
it was a pin oak, probably about big around as a coffee can.
Wow.
I don't know. My first instinct would be cat, but I don't know.
As was mine. That was exactly my first one, my first instinct. But at the same time, figuring out him getting, 30-pound dog, I mean, that's pretty heavy for any for any cat around here that if they got him and was dragging him up there, you know, pretty heavy for anything we have around here, except for Black Panther. Because I mean, when I got to him, I had to tote him out of the woods because he was just so like in shock, exhausted. I mean, whenever I got him to the yard, my yard, and I set him down, he just fell over. You know, he had no energy.
Yeah.
Feel bad for the little guy.
I do too. I hope he'll be okay.
Yeah, I think he's going to be fine. He's walking around doing everything now, and he's just hanging around the yard. He isn't venturing out like he normally does. All my 2 or 3 yard dogs, they're all hounds, and every day they make their round chasing a rabbit or treeing squirrels or whatever around here. Not him. He's sitting in the yard like, y'all going ahead. Y'all going out there and get your butt whooped like I did. You know.
He'll get back. He's just trying to mend. Well, we've only got an hour-long show tonight, so do you think maybe we ought to get to our guests?
Let's go. Let's get it.
Okay. Lauren, if you'll read that intro, we'll go ahead and bring Mr. Thundercloud on.
Yeah, Lauren, hurry up.
Okay. Night Colors Bigfoot Radio presents David Thundercloud from Maryland. David Thundercloud is a Bigfoot researcher from Maryland. He has only been a researcher since October 2016. However, he started researching due to 3 sightings that occurred during that summer in Maryland. Like many others, he assumed that Sasquatch were only in the Washington State or Canada area. Also, that there were only a few, with the infamous Patty being one of the last ones. That all changed when the 2016 sightings occurred. The 3 sightings occurred in what is now David's observation area. After reading about the sightings, he went to the location, and he was still very new to Sasquatching at the time and didn't know what signs to look for. He did, however, get what he thinks was a Sasquatch yell before he left that very first day. Feeling a little bit lost, David joined a Facebook group and educated himself with Bigfoot Talk radio shows and videos. He also connected with a Bigfoot seeker in Texas and had frequent calls with this person to get information. David learned what to look for and now has 2 research areas, the first being 14,000 acres and the second being 1,700 acres. Between the 2 areas, he has compiled quite a bit of evidence. He has a regular day job in the transportation field, but researches Sasquatch in his spare time. Join us as we hear from David Thundercloud from Maryland.
And I want to let anybody know that if you want to call in tonight, the number is 347-989-0313. And we've got Dave Thundercloud on tonight.
Yes.
What? Call you Dave?
You call me David. That's fine.
I can call you David? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, welcome to Night Caller. Welcome to Night Callers Bigfoot Radio, David.
Thank you. You can call me David if it's easier. If it's easier, you can call me Dave.
Yeah, just don't call me late for supper, right?
Right. I'm just so excited because you all are like you're like Hollywood stars to me because you all are the people that I listen to when I first started everything.
Oh, wow.
Great.
We didn't know that. Boy, we feel kind of...
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that is wonderful to hear. Jeff and I were talking earlier about our first year of research, which you're really new, and that's exciting because in my first year of research, I found more and experienced more in my first year of research than I did any year following that.
Oh, my goodness.
It was just incredibly exciting. Yes, fresh eyes and just the excitement of it, the adrenaline of it. And after you've been in it as long as me and Jeff have, you kind of lose a little bit. So it's really exciting to talk to somebody who is new in this. So we're going to let you talk.
It's fine. It's fine.
So
any questions?
How did you... Yes, I'm going to start out. And Jeff, I want you to jump in. I'm starting out with the question is, how in the world did you get interested in Bigfoot? I mean, were you always interested, or did you just run across those reports, or what happened?
Well, what happened was when I was young, I looked at, the old shows like In Search of, I think, what was it, Leonard Nimoy, and
Yes.
I watched things like that. And as a child, I used to love the Bigfoot stories and the Bigfoot campfire stories. So as I got older, and, you get busy with the day-to-day, routine and things like that and family, I started to, kind of just catch up on little Bigfoot stuff, Bigfoot TV shows when they came out. And now, you have the newer shows, Finding Bigfoot. And I used to love watching them. I loved the whole story of Bigfoot. But I was on the fence about it. And I would go back and forth with it. 1 minute I'd be like, oh, it's none. And then I'd watch the shows and see the evidence. And then I'd say, oh, I watch Animal Planet. Oh, maybe there is. But, I really just thought, oh, it's probably just a few left, another part of the state. And Patty was, one of the last. And it's no more than 5, if there's any at all.
Uh-huh. I thought the same thing, actually, but go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. I tell you, and it just drove me crazy because I was like, oh my goodness, I wonder, and you'd see these reports on a lot of the YouTube channels from all over the world, just all over, Asia, Tibet, just everywhere except Hawaii, but other than that, you had them all over the U.S. and it just killed me. So I was kind of down in the dumps, and I said, oh, Maryland doesn't have anything. And I just kind of, I would watch the shows, and I just said, oh, I wish I lived in Washington State, or I wish I lived in Alaska or Canada. Oh, if there are any, and then what happened was I was at the library one day, and something just told me, look for Maryland Bigfoot. And once I typed it in, Googled it, then it popped up that we had the sightings. And I was like, oh, my goodness, thank the good Lord. I was like, finally, we had, I was like, oh, yes. She said, that really, really got my fire started. So I was so incredibly happy. So I checked the sightings out, the reports, and I immediately mapped out where they were. We have a place called River Road where we've had a lot of sightings. Now, the thing about that was that with the River Road, when I had went there and checked the area, and I read the reports, and we had a local paper that actually wrote it up, I didn't see anything, and I didn't know anything. I didn't know what to do, but I just went out and, did my own little investigation, I guess. Just looked around the area. After that, I started doing more research, and then I found out actually that Maryland had since the 1900s, had a number of sightings from the 1900s up to now, and probably even before, I'm assuming. And I started finding police reports and all these things, just all these incidents. The police reports were covered up with, well, it's a bear. We know how that goes. But, it was just, I was just amazed. I was like, I can't believe all this was going on when I was like a little kid. I was like, oh, my goodness, I wish I had known this when I was like 18. I could have been in the woods. So,
I was like 40 when I started. I mean, it was like I was like 45 or something like that. So you talk about getting a late start. I really did. So,
but that's great though. It's great though. I'm telling you, it was it's great to get out there, and like I learned from researching. That taught me a big lesson too. Don't just discount things. Make sure that you do your research, and that's what happened. And then I found out this giant history that we had, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is incredible. So what I did actually is I looked at the reports. And I would go back to the sighting, and then I found out there was actually more land that this thing, creature, she, Sasquatch had covered. And I was like, well, how do I do this? I know the area. I have the landmass. But what how do I track this thing? So what I started doing is researching and listening to like you all and Sasquatch Chronicles and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned, from hearing the people, look for the signs, look for the footprints, look for the structures, look for the nesting areas. And a lot of the things that I was actually walking by when I first started researching the area or exploring. I'm not a researcher. I'm just a guy that explored. So I would, I was passing structures constantly and didn't know. I didn't know anything. And I was passing footprints and didn't know, Exactly.
So, I know just what you're saying.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. and it just once I started to learn what to look for, then I would go back to the places that I passed. I started taking notes. I started monitoring the sites for changes and things like that. And it just got to be mind blowing. I was like, I can't believe this is going on. So anyway, when I first did my first exploration of the area of the alleged incident or sighting, I was in the woods for 4 hours, and it took me a while, though, before I did get to that site, because I would go and freeze up before I went in, because I just heard all these horror stories that I never knew, there's all these horror stories, and I was like, oh my goodness, and I would just freeze up. And then I just started taking it slow. I would go in a few miles. Each time until I got comfortable. So what happened from there was the first time that I went into the research area, I stayed for about 4 hours to get myself comfortable and acclimated to the area. What I did from there was came out after 4 hours, and that's when I heard it. And then I heard let me see if I can do the sound, because I heard and that was the sound that I've heard when I listen to a lot of like the YouTube sounds for Sasquatch.
Uh-huh.
And that's when I knew that whatever was in there had seen me. I didn't see it, but it knew, because I came out and nobody else was there. And I guess that really, really fired me up to start really, really getting into it and learning about what to look for.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. So what I did is I started going back, and I started noticing things like the tree breaks, tree structures. Then I started finding the footprints. It took me a little while to find the footprints. Actually, my first footprint was actually a baby squatch footprint.
Wow.
And that was, yes, ma'am, that was because I had set up, I call it a baiting station, and that's the, I would set the food out for them. And I don't recommend it. You don't feed animals or wild animals or whatever.
Right.
I don't recommend it. But because of the situation, I had this massive land all to myself. I needed help. I didn't have any help. So I had to kind of figure out how to draw this thing out.
Right.
Even if I could not obtain the sighting, at least I could get maybe, get some prints or get some structure. So she, I guess they came out. They took the food, did what they had to do. And there's a pond, actually, from the baiting station. There's a pond down the hill from the baiting station. So I guess they took the baby, they fed the baby, and then took it for water. That was my very first track, was a baby print. And this area, this area, you're not going to take a human child, let them run barefoot in this area. You're not going to do that. So, so I was real grateful for that. And then it broke some limbs, and the limbs were facing the water. And from the studying, I heard that they usually will break the limbs to face either water, food, or for direction.
Right.
So it broke a stick, and it left an X, which was real great. And I had a huge, massive tree break. Most of my work, if anybody needs to see it for proof or evidence, is at Sasquatch Watch's Facebook page. That was my first site I joined. I have a lot of work there. and Bigfoot Dog Research Project. That's my friend D. Doss runs that. My bro, he runs that, and he's real good. He gives me information because he has a situation going on himself in state of Texas.
Oh.
Yeah.
And what is his name, the one that lives in Texas?
D-Dog.
D-Dog?
D-Doss. Delta Oscar Samuel.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I've never heard of him. Wow, he might be in my backyard and I won't even know it. We had a question. Want to know if you grew up in the woods?
Yes, I did. Yes, ma'am. I grew up in the woods from age 5 to about maybe about 15.
Okay.
And puberty hit, so I don't need to run down that road.
You didn't find any girls out in the woods. That's why you didn't.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But yeah, I grew up in the woods. In the summer, my mother would send us. Me and my cousins, we would go to a Christian camp called River Valley Ranch in Virginia. Real great camp. That was real good. So we spent some time in the woods there. Yes, ma'am.
So, have you ever had where you felt like there was one close by?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I just had that happen in, let's see, October, November, December. I was at the research area, and I was looking at some structures, and I was really, like, I keep going back to this. It's this one structure that just really I keep going back to, and I was doing some filming on it, and I was taking some pictures. So I would just, like, I never got enough of the structure. You know, it was just like I would take the front and then go around.
What kind of a structure was it? Was it a teepee formation or a...
No, actually, the way that I describe it, I didn't really know how to describe it, but I would say it was almost like it was huge lumber, well, huge trees, and they looked almost like it was almost like a playground, like a roller coaster. And yes, it was really odd. It was fascinating, and I thought to myself, I said, well, maybe this is a structure for perhaps the juveniles to run up and down or to exercise. So I just was so fascinated. But anyway, to the point, to answer your question, I'm sorry. I was out late, and I was doing the structure, and it was dark. I mean, the sun was just coming out fast. And before I knew it, it was one in front of me, one in back. I heard them walking, and I couldn't see. I was looking in the darkness. I couldn't see anything, and I could hear them step. And it wasn't an angry, type stepping. It wasn't anything aggressive. It was actually, it's a little bit scary because I did not know what to expect. But I stood there. I kept taking my pictures, and I said, well, there's nothing I can do now. If I got one in front, one in back, hey, you know. So
and you were alone?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's not the first time. Well, I'm sorry. That was the first time, but I had other times. I'm sorry.
Okay. So go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. So that really kind of, like, once I got back, because that's like that structure was 1.2 miles into my location, so I had to walk it out and just be cautious, not run. Or do anything too spastic. So, it was a little nerve-wracking, but then I made it to my truck. And
did you feel like you were followed?
That time, I felt like it, but to be honest with you, I chalked it up. After I heard them, then I said the rest is just my imagination. So just cool down. Now, I did have a second time where I was in another area of the place that I research and or explore. I went far in. I was looking for tracks, and this area has 3 ponds. It has 3 ponds, and I was looking desperately. And once again, sun was going down. I wasn't paying attention, and I started to walk out. And then that's when, to the left of me, I started to feel something. I started to feel nervous, and I said, "Oh, it's just me. It's just, I'm just letting things get to me. Suck it up, And when that happened, and actually I put the video up at Sasquatch Watchers and BDRP site. Actually, it's kind of funny. I came out, and one of the forestry rangers was hauling butt to his truck, and I was thinking, I was like, how can you leave me here? I was like, what are you doing? I was like, oh my goodness, the dude is running off. He left me in the woods. This is crazy. So he was hauling butt. So I said, well, if you're hauling butt, I'm hauling butt because you definitely know what's in there. So it was just crazy. I'm telling you, Ms. Lord, it was just crazy. But I do have the video. And I mean, this guy was flying. He was flying. And I don't know what. Maybe he saw something I didn't, but he was hauling butt. I'm here to tell you.
Wow. Well, Jeff, do you got any questions for him? Because it is a short show, and I don't want to dominate the guest, but
I've been over here on mute because I've been laughing.
Oh.
Me too.
Oh no.
No, that is awesome, man.
Way. Yeah. No, this is. I mean, just the thing I love about a new researcher is the passion that you feel and the excitement that you feel.
Oh,
and,
yes.
Yes. I'm over here just like, I'm like taking in everything. It's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So keep going. Whatever else you have to tell us, we're all ears.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you. So from there, I just learned a lot of the techniques. I started looking because, like I said, my first area does have 3 lakes. I started monitoring the lakes, and I noticed that a lot of the turtles, the ducks, the beavers, things were starting to really, really not be there anymore. And from the other 2 sightings we had, it usually she would come out about 6:30 a.m. and feed. A lot of the fishermen would say that. So it just so happened that I guess it was depleting the lakes. It was eating whatever it could. So from there, I just kept going back. I started taking more pictures of structures. I started getting more footprints. I started setting up more bait stations to see where it would go. I did the peanut butter thing. I had some luck with that. And let's see what else.
Do you ever try popcorn? I always heard that, if you take a bag of microwave popcorn, I tried that. And every time I did that, because it's aromatic all the way out there. And then I would hang it up high in a tree, and it would disappear, bag and all.
I would try that.
Real
Thank you, Ms. Laura. I would try that. You know what's so funny? You said that.
Wow.
When I first set up the baiting station, when I got the baby print, I had popcorn, I had grapefruit, I had corn, I had like all this good stuff. I even threw in some mint. So.
Oh my goodness.
and I guess maybe the baby or the adult, maybe they both liked it. But that's a good idea. I will try that. Yes, ma'am. I will try the popcorn up in the tree.
They like that popcorn.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Let me mention something. Back when I first started, I had a crock pot full. It was half full of beans, and it sat last box like 3 or 4 days. I didn't think we should eat them anymore, so I took them and put them out on the party barge, which is sits up pretty high off the ground once it's on the trailer and everything. And so I set it up there, and this is a heavy crock pot. Crock pots are pretty heavy. Well, the next day I found it on the ground.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
And it was completely empty. And it was probably about 4 foot from the boat, you know, and I said, now, how did that get from up there to down here?
Mm-hmm.
I think even empty, I don't know a coon could have moved it, but you never know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it was wiped completely clean, licked clean.
Oh, my goodness.
So something enjoyed those beans, sure enough. But I know that where I was at and having all the activity I was having, they were being fed.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think there's something to that. If you are providing a food source for them, they're going to come.
Yes, ma'am.
Then they're going to get upset if you quit.
Right. That's why I tell people I know a lot of people that they say, oh, I'm going to go out and gift them and things like that. And I say, don't do it. Be careful. Just treat it as any wild animal. If you had a bear, especially don't gift near your home. You know, don't gift near your home. I mean, there's one lady I'm friends with. She's really a sweet churchgoer lady, real great, and she has them on the property. Actually, she has on the property. She was gifting them, and I told her, I said, stop gifting them. They're gonna get you. They're gonna get you. But for some reason, they love her to death. They don't mess with the property. They don't mess with her. She doesn't go out at night. She doesn't take a chance on that. But they're pretty friendly with her. Now, that was when we had a real crazy experience because I had went out actually with a team. Actually, I almost had a team together, and we went out and we investigated her area. She was in Virginia, and she had called us to come out there. We were friends on Facebook, and she had saw my pictures, and she knew what to look for because obviously she's dealt with them many more years than I have. So she would, critique my pictures. She would say, okay, well, this is what that is, and this is real. And you really have some true evidence. So she called us out to the property, and me and a friend and his friend went. So we went out to the property. Now, this is where things get real crazy. We got out there, and she had showed us her property. It was deep wood, and she's a senior citizen, so her legs weren't too good for the wood. So she said, well, you all can go back there and check it out. Just be careful. So before I went in, I was just talking to her and contacting her and saying things, and just getting a feel of the area and what she had seen, what she had heard. So then from there, she had told us, gave us the information. So we went ahead on the woods. My partner went in first, and immediately he said he saw something. It was brown and white. So I said, well, it's probably just a white-tailed deer. And he said, no, this wasn't a deer. This thing moved too fast. Plus, you can see a deer. He said he would have caught the deer. And the deer had ran, or the deer, whatever it was, because I did not see it. He saw it. So he went ahead and went back a little bit deeper, and then I went back. Now, by the time we got really back in the woods, it only took us like 30 minutes. We got back there, and then all of a sudden there was a thicket on the left side of me. He was on my right side, and he was surveying the land. All of a sudden you heard the thicket just start shaking like crazy, and then what amazed me was that you could hear the sounds. It was almost like mumbling, not the chatter, but mumbling, like children. It was like children mumbling, and then you could hear steps. But it wasn't the steps that we have on leaves, like when we walk in the woods and we investigate or walk in the woods on leaves. It sounded like people on wood floor, which just amazed me. I said, what in the world is going on? Because this was the first time I was asked to research an area other than mine. So you could see the trees rattling, and you could just hear these sounds, and it sounded like, it was almost like the children were frustrated. They wanted to come out, or the juveniles, they wanted to come out, but they couldn't. And I guess, that was just the law of, probably the alpha male that said, no, you can't. We know you want to play, but those are humans, and humans are dangerous.
And those are new humans.
Right. And the children are probably looking at us like, what are those hairy kids? They're like us, but they're hairless.
New toys.
Not hairy, but hairless. Right, exactly, right. New toys for the alpha male. Yep, new toys for the alpha male. Because she did tell us, she said there is an alpha male around there, so be careful. So we went ahead, and my partner, he really got flustered. He got a little scared, and he said, "Well, look, can we go now?" And I said, "Sure, man, because hey, I'm just happy to have a research partner. So hey, whatever you want, we can leave now if you want." And deep down, I wanted to stay because I actually wanted to do a night thing, but he said, "Let's go. It's getting dark. We got to get out of here." So we came up the hill. Right.
Don't you hate that?
I think that's one vote I would have lost if it was a group of people. But but I was just like I said, I had a research partner. I'd already been in the woods at night by myself anyway, so for me it was just great to even have another person there, another human being with me. But we had went up a large hill, and once we went up the hill back to the lady's property, to her backyard, that's when we saw a juvenile print. The toe was almost like an adult, but the foot was like maybe age 12. But the foot size was mannish, the big toe print. So we took pictures of that. Everything I'm telling you, we took pictures of. And then we started to look around, and my research partner, he started finding more, and it was just incredible because they were in the backyard, and he said there has to be a water source. There's a water source near the front of the house, and then eventually we found like some kind of drainage area where the water was running. And then he started to say, "I'm hearing things. I'm hearing something. I can't see anything. I hear it though." So we took a break because by this time we had already been there we had been in the woods maybe like 2.5 hours. So we took a break. After the break, we went to the front of the house. We had a female with us who was also there with us. She wasn't a big believer, and my research partner, he was either or. He's like, just I'm fine with whatever. I just like the excitement. So the female, right. So the female, actually it worked out good for us because I guess, as you all know, they love you females. So
yes, they do.
They do. They love you all to death. So the female went out for a smoke. I told her, look, don't go out there without us. But she wanted to go, and she went out by herself. When we came out, that's when things just started to go haywire. All of a sudden, you heard a flood on the left side of the house. Now, this is a big house. You heard all these footsteps. And then you heard the leaves crunching, and it was like a group of people running up. So I went over to the left, and I looked. I said, I can't see anything. I'm looking out there. I can't see anything. I'm not seeing anything. All I hear, it sounds like a group of people. If it's a group of people, I would have known, because they would be standing on the side of the house. I said, I can't see anything, and it's this big rush of things. There's something rushing up on the side of the house, and they want you. And I pointed to her, and I started joking, but
you weren't joking, were you?
Right, but they just went bonkers, and they came up to the house. They didn't do anything. It wasn't violent. Once again, it was still nice and or comfortable situation. So they came up. They didn't come out any further, and I was just so hoping that when we went back in, because we got the girl, well, the woman, not girl, woman, and that was her name was Shawnee. And my partner was Wendell. So anyway, we looked around. We got her. We pulled her close to us, and she said, "Look in the woods." And I said, "What?" Then she saw the eye shine, and I said, "Oh, it's just a deer." It's just a deer. She said, "Well, is a deer 8 feet tall, standing in a tree?" I said, "Girl, you're like a magnet." She said, "Yeah, I just saw the eye shine, 8 feet tall in the woods." So I said, "Okay, well, I don't know what to do. I can't catch it. These things they're on both sides of the house. They're moving too fast. I really don't know what to tell you. All I can do, if I can we already got the print from earlier in the day. they're just moving too fast, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the one where they were really, really close to it.
Wow.
Yeah, that was really, really close.
So you like to from that experience, you'd prefer to take a woman out with you, or you'd rather not? You know, a lot of guys don't.
Right.
They don't want to take a woman, and, you know, even if the woman is interested, most of the time the men are married and their wives don't want them going out in the field with somebody. And even though the female researcher is not interested, for the most part, in the male researcher, she's interested in the subject, you know, but it still causes problems. So, you know, a lot of times women don't get invited out there. And
yes, ma'am.
I think it's sad. I really do think it's sad, because I think that they would have a lot more activity if they would bring a woman along, you know. But
yes, ma'am.
They're lost.
Right, and you're right. It is. You know, I believe in safety first. I mean, it's different when it's just me because I'm responsible for me. You know, but I'll only take a female if there's other females with us, and it's a group. I will not take just one solo female, because God forbid something happens. And it doesn't have to be Sasquatch. It could be a wild animal. You know, how would I explain it? To this woman can have children. Have, you know, we all have family. So if I do that, then it has to be a group, and more than one female. But if they would like to go, any female can go. I mean, and that's to the listeners. If you want to go ahead, that's fine.
But they better bring a friend. They better, bring another female with them. Yeah.
Right, definitely. And you better be able to. Well, you better be able to run.
You better be able to run.
but from the other things back there.
Well, I can understand that. I can truly understand that. You know, it's funny though, because I go out by myself all the time, and I've never been attacked. I always felt like in my mind that if there's Sasquatch in the area, they're going to protect me. If there's Sasquatch in the area, isn't nothing else going to be in the area? So, and I feel like I'm safe with the Sasquatch. You know, I've never had anything. They've never thrown anything at me. I've never been growled at there. You know, in my area, I have been growled at in other areas, but. I've only been growled at just a couple of times, and it hurt my feelings when they did. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm on your side, you know. So, but still, all the same, you know, it's you know, you hear about these guys, they're all getting together and going out there, and you don't really hear about a group of women going, you know, And then also, you know, you find out that there are women that are going out in the field, but they've gone to the woo-woo side, you know, and I'm like, I'm not a woo-wooer, and I just can't get into that, you know, woo-woo side thing, and I'm still doing the basic guy research, you know, the regular research. So it's really hard. So I end up doing it alone, you know, and I can't run as fast as I used to, so I don't get out in there as deep as I used to, you know, but I would if I had other people with me. But being by myself, if I had to really run to get out, I don't think I could run that far. So
you don't want to take that
now
chance,
I just live vicariously through Dave Thundercloud. I live vicariously through him.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
all other men.
Yeah, you get a whole lot of action from me, believe that. And that's, you know, that's one of my mottos. I say, I just don't do it for myself. I do it for people that can't get out there, you know.
Yeah.
If they physically can't get out there, then I'll do it and I'll report back, and hopefully they will like my findings. You know,
I think that's awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
so, yeah,
Jeff, now you've got to speak up now, Jeff, because we are down probably about 15 minutes left. So.
Well, I'm just glad that you gave a shout out to the woo woos.
I know. I'm probably going to get some hate mail over that. I hate it.
That's okay.
You know?
We can get all the hate mail we want.
Well, you know,
It's not going to hurt us.
In my defense, I mean, I understand where they're going with it because I've experienced some really, really strange things out there. And I agree with some of what they have experienced, but I feel like for the sake of the science of it, that we need to kind of stay with our feet on the ground. I'm not ready to go woo-woo.
Yes, ma'am.
Going woo-woo before we've even, well, when you go woo-woo before we've even proven that they exist, beyond the shadow of a doubt, is like I've said in the past, that's like in 1920, somebody would have said, man, I'm going to make a car that's going to go 275 miles per hour, whenever the Model A and the Model whatever could go about 15 miles an hour. You know, I mean, you couldn't do that. You've got to take the proper steps before you've got to prove something exists before you can prove that it does some weird, unprecedented thing.
Yes, true. Great, yes, very true.
So, you know, while I don't agree with a lot of their theories and stuff, but they're theories. I've got theories, you know, so, I mean, I just don't have time to listen to some of it. And I've just enjoyed sitting here and listening to your enthusiasm. I've had a smile on my face and been sitting over and chuckling and everything.
Isn't he awesome?
Your enthusiasm, it takes me back to whenever I started out, and I had that same fire, that same enthusiasm, and I love hearing that in your voice.
Thank you.
I really do, man, because it's guys. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, but it's guys like you that are coming along that are fresh, that are still young enough. You're out there just pounding the ground, and that's what we need, because it's going to be somebody like that's going to, you know. And I hate to use this word, but it's probably the best word for Bigfoot research. You're the type of guy that's going to stumble onto that golden egg, you know.
Nobody will believe it because he's so new.
Yeah,
they don't think that he got
to this point. All of our research to this point is stumbling. You know, we've all stumbled upon stuff. You know, because it's like a needle in a haystack when you actually go out there and find those tracks. You know, and you find those small things, because it's not like right now I can say, oh, yeah, I know this area, and I'm going to go straight to that area, and I'm going to find blah, blah, blah. I can't do that. I've got an area that I have found things in the past, and I go there and I look. I go there probably 200 days a year, and 5 of those 200 days I find stuff. You know? So it's like those other 195 days, you're going and looking, so you're stumbling upon it when you find it. So, you know, it's going to be those guys like you that are very energetic, very enthusiastic, and you're out there, you're getting it done, and you're going to bring in the next generation of what's going on, because if not, we're going to fade away.
It's true. Very true.
Yeah, that's what he thinks, that, you know, we're going to just turn into a bunch of burned out old ex-Bigfoot junkies, and all these new people won't pick up the gauntlet and go on, but I know you will.
Too many of the new people want to be in the woo-woo stuff. You know, they before they're looking for the flesh and blood, they're immediately saying that it's some extraterrestrial, some alien, some demon, some whatever. I don't know. I mean, it's you know, I don't know. I'm going back to the $6 million man.
Interdimensional.
You're right.
Interdimensional.
Yeah, interdimensional.
Yeah, traveling through portals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes,
It can't
exactly.
go that way.
You're right. It's too much. It's too much.
And one day I hope I'm proven wrong. One day I hope I'm proven that you know, is I'm totally just blown out of the water, and they prove that that's real. But until that happens, I don't think we need to go there. I think we need guys like you on the ground, going out there, still looking, still researching, climbing the trees, jumping the creeks, stuff that if I climbed or jumped, somebody would have to call an ambulance to come get me.
Well, I fell in the creek last week, Phil. You're not alone. I fell in the creek last week.
That's part of it, man. That's the fun of it. I mean, you fell in the creek, but you're going to remember falling into that creek. You're going to be like, man, one time I was out there, blah, 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 and I fell in the creek. So it's going to make a great memory. Making great memories. Things have slipped my mind and everything, but where were you raised at?
I was in Maryland. I was in the city, Baltimore. Well, actually, I was raised in a place called Baltimore County. And we actually, if you Google 1978 Baltimore Bigfoot incident, we had a Bigfoot that actually got into the county and almost into the city line.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. And I tracked the route because I was wondering, I said, how did he even get all the way into the city? But then come to find out it was a water route. It was a park. And, he was probably starving or hungry, and he had made his way up. And that just came from guessing and researching.
Wow.
Yeah. But, Maryland State is my home for now. I want to get out to Virginia, because we're between Virginia and Pennsylvania. And I would love to get to Virginia and Pennsylvania, and I'm supposed to come to Texas to do some exploring too.
Oh, wow. Whereabouts in Texas? You can say like North Texas, Central Texas, South Texas, East Texas.
Oh, my God. Miss Laura, I have to get back to you on that because my friend, he has a town, I think it's the Brown Springs area.
Oh, that's in Oklahoma.
Okay.
That's
is that the one where they have the lake? Excuse me, I'm sorry. Is that the one where they have the is it a river where you can cross and then you're into Texas? I heard there's a huge river. Okay.
Yes. It's the Red River, and Brown Springs has got one heck of a reputation. Bad reputation.
Right, yeah. I heard like a lot of bodies were found.
Yeah. And so be careful if you go there. I've just heard some bad things about it,
Yes, ma'am.
So be careful.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't think you want to spend the night there.
No, ma'am, I don't think so either.
They say that, it's just got a creepy feeling about it. When you get there, the whole time you're there, you just got the hinky, creepy feeling.
I need to be there. That's the kind of stuff I like, man. I search out. I want to get scared. I mean, nothing scares me. I want to get scared. I want to go somewhere where something like jumps out of the cloud. I say nothing scares me. Clowns. Don't get a clown near me. I will punch a clown in the face.
Come on,
even at a 3-year-old's birthday party, clown gets near me, they get punched. I'm sorry. Long as we can go hunt ghosts or anything, as long as it's not a clown ghost.
One of mine is the same way. He got a thing about clowns.
Oh my goodness, those clowns! Well, I tell you, I don't mess with the ghost. I'll mess with the squatch, but I don't mess with the ghost. That's the whole. Captain Jeff can have that. No ghost for me. I'm sitting in the woods in the middle of the night with squatches. You're on borrowed time as it is, but so. Yeah, we had an incident, and I keep losing my research partners. They always see something before I do. It's so frustrating. Once I found my second area, because we had some sightings there, and that place is just crazy. So we went there the first night. Number one, usually if I research an area, I do the daytime first to map it out, and then I go back. Whenever, but we just went, and my research partner, he didn't have a lot of time, so he was like, "Look, let's go, come on," because we were filming some things, and actually we have the filming. It's once again at Sasquatch Watchers in BDRP if you all need to see it, or the listeners want to see it. We were there, and we were near a river, and we went through this. It was like this brush. It was just a huge pine tree. So my partner, he was like, climb through, just go through. We're going to climb down a hill because it was on top of a hill. So we went down this steep hill, and he was standing there, and we went maybe about 10 minutes into the woods, not far from the edge, and he was playing with he was doing something on his cell phone. We still had reception. So he was looking at his phone, and all of a sudden you just heard this walking. It was like a man walking. You heard it. You could hear it coming. Not fast. It was comfortable. It wasn't a violent walk. It wasn't aggressive. It just came up, and I looked, and I once again, it was in the dark. I couldn't see anything, but I just heard it stepping, and I said, this may be it. And I told my partner, I said, back up, because he doesn't believe in it. So for him to come up against that, and he's right in front of me, he's a couple feet in front of me, that could have got real ugly, for him not to know what he's looking at or whatever. So I just said, back up. And then the steps stopped. When I said, back up, come on to me. And then he came. He didn't question. He never heard the steps, but he did see something before he went in, because he said the night that we finished surveying the area, he said, I did see something before I went in. And unfortunately, after that, I haven't heard from him. He'll text me every blue moon. Yeah. He won't return my calls or anything, so I guess
I've been there. I've been there. I've had people vacate, after going out with me. But, in their defense, we did have a pretty hair-raising experience, and I was all, thrilled about it. But they decided that it was too much, and they got out of the field completely. That's how bad it scared them. Right. So not everybody is brave like me and Jeff and Dave. And so, but we have completely run out of time.
Yes, ma'am.
And I just want to tell you what an awesome guest you are, and we really want to have you back, because I know you're going to have some more great experiences to tell us about, and probably a sighting by the time, because I was in it a year when I had a sighting. So.
Oh, okay.
So I was about a year. And I really wasn't in it real big either until I had my sighting, but I kind of already knew there was something around. And so, but I didn't really truly believe it in my heart until I saw one. Mm-hmm. And I think you'll be the same way too. You think you believe it until you see it. Yeah. And when you see one, there's no going back. It's on then. You think it's on now? It's on then. Yeah.
That's what I heard. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Jeff, do you have anything else to say before we say goodnight?
Just want to thank David for coming on the show, and it's been a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing a lot more stuff from you in the future.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Thank you, Captain Jeff. Thank you.
We'd love to have you back, Jeff. I mean, Jeff, we'd love to have you back, but David, we'd love to have you back too.
Yeah, that'd be a big problem. If Captain Jeff didn't come back, that would be a big problem. Yes, yes. So thank you very much for y'all's time and letting me run on. Thank you, Ms. Lori and Ms. Loren. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Everyone, let's say good night.
All right, good night.
The end of The Bachelor and see who he picks. So.
Good night, young boys.
Good night, everybody.
Night, y'all.
Good night.